Hey guys, it's Mike, another King Arthur Legends Rise video. Today we're looking at a 90-day review of the game, my account, what my thoughts are, and where we're at. Which this is kind of happening at a good time because right now there's a little bit of negativity going on with the recent Raid Up Summons banner that just updated in the game. So we can talk about some of the things and also get into what the longevity of King Arthur could and should be if Netmarble really wants to push it. So to start out, let's take a peek at my account and what's going on in the account. I have spent a total of $128 in the last 90 days on King Arthur, so keep that in mind as we go through some of what you're about to see here. You can take a look at my legendary characters. I have every legendary in the game with the exception of Ceres. I have not been fortunate enough to pull for her. I did make a note in my last video that I would not be pulling for her during this Raid Up event. If they do happen to launch an event where she is required to be on your team and the rewards in there are worthwhile, I might actually end up pulling for her. But hopefully I get her just randomly before that happens, if that even happens. Right now the event that's going on is Nika, so I already have her on the account so I can do it. But you can see chivalries are stacking up. My Morgan's at 6, Anya's at 5. We got 2 on Bedivere. So even the legendaries are starting to get a few chivalries on them. As we take a look at the rares, I have a lot of the rares are pretty much chivalry 7, 8 or higher. I think Anguish is actually probably my least chivalry character in the rares, and then every uncommon and common is fully level 10. With that, I did purchase some gear packs that allowed me to get some pretty solid gear on my account. That was a huge upgrade to my account. I was running a lot of 4-star with the occasional 5-star pieces. Now I'm running 6-star and 5-star pieces almost exclusively on my main champions. I am starting to rebuild some of these champions to get better and better gear on them. Recently redid Anya here. Could really benefit to get her in a strife set completely, so when she brings somebody down she gets to go again. But yeah, just trying to step up my gear and so forth. So here we're looking at what do we have on effect accuracy. So I probably don't have a 6-star piece of effect accuracy for Brennan yet, so probably just need to go in there in my item bag and make one, and then I can get it on him and make sure he's up to date as well. Also, I need to work on getting matching sets for all of my accessories, spend some time in Fortress Arsalis and get some of those pieces in the 5 and 6-star. I am able to farm it on level 10, so there's no reason I shouldn't do it, I just haven't. So that's the issue going on there. But I'd say as far as the account goes, I'm definitely rounding mid-game and kind of heading into late game. I kind of draw that line when there's no content in the game I can't beat, and it's just a matter of doing it more and more efficiently. I think that's kind of as you enter late game status, at least from my point of view. So currently there are a few dungeons I cannot beat stage 10 on. On all the power-up dungeons, I am rolling through stage 10 easily and with 100% teams. I am not able to beat Origin of Apollyon on level 10. I have not been able to do that yet. To be fair, this is a dungeon I never farm because there's nothing in here worth farming. The Nika event actually brought me in here, and now I'm trying to put the team together that can beat stage 10, and I'm sure I have one. I just haven't put it together yet, so I'm going to kind of work on that in the background and see if I can get that figured out. Padarja's Sanctuary, I have got through Sanctuary stage 7, and then I've been working on a couple key pieces I think will help me press on, but I have not been in here trying to push on this area as well, so this will be another area of content, and why I think I'm still kind of mid-game, because there is pieces of content I cannot beat. Likewise, we go into the Forbidden Dungeon. Last season I beat normal for the first time, got on to hard all the way to stage 11. I have not been able to beat stage 11 yet. I am debating, you have to bring in 3 storm relics. And I just don't have 3 characters I think are going to do a lot of work for me. So I can either rebuild my Turin to be a much better healer, to be closer to what Nika can do, or I was thinking about picking up Morgan's wind or storm relic and getting it decked out, and then bringing in Nika to keep my team alive. And I think that might be what I need to do to get through this team or through this stage. But I got hung up. This was the same exact stage I got hung up on last season, and I'm already on day 2. I got stuck there again. So hopefully I have some time to get through it this time. But again, there's content in the game that I am not capable of defeating at this time. based on my current status with champions and gear. As we go into the favor dungeons, haven't spent a lot of time in the favor dungeons. The Serpent's Favor is the only stage 10 I have cleared. So I do think you do need to get 4 pretty solid characters to get through the stage 10 level. But unfortunately, I feel like you have to build a healer or a support champion in every single category, but I don't want to waste the resources on that because I have better versions that I'm not going to use anywhere else in the game. So until I kind of get the characters that I'm using kind of decked out, I'm not really focused on doing the favor dungeon and getting those support characters to get my team alive to live through stage 10. But that is an area of opportunity in the game for me. Again, some more content I haven't done. Getting really close to wrapping up a lot of things, but I just haven't quite got there yet. As we go over to story mode, kind of the same story. We have all the way working on hell mode, working through 3 stars, I think 5 and below, except for stage 7. I have 3 stars and just kind of working myself through. And so, you know, slowly but surely we're going to get that dialed in. I have not beat it on, I forgot that I hadn't beat that yet, so I might have to go back and try that. So there's some more content that I haven't been able to beat, and then it's just a matter of how efficiently I can beat it and get all these 3 stars with all these goodies along the way. But I would say all in all for a 90-day account, like I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I'm on level 84, moving through it. My castle is working on, I think, stage 17? I'm building castle 16 currently. So we're working on that upgrade and getting that dialed in, and we're 3 days away from that, which when you start getting into this point, the time it takes for your castles to build is actually quite a bit. So talking about being a spender in the game, I am a minnow, spending $100 over the course of $128. $128, I'm being honest, and I'm keeping tabs on it because otherwise it'll get out of control. But it's been a lot of fun for me just getting in the game, and the $128 has absolutely expedited my account as far as basically coming into summons. I don't know that it's helped me a lot outside of chivalries is pretty much what's come down to, and also just getting characters on the account. Like for example, when these raid up summons come in, I wouldn't end up with all of the raid up summons that I had to get my Anya. I think I went through 120 raid up summons to get her to level chivalry 4. So there's some pieces there that definitely sped up. I don't think I would have Charlotte on the account at all, because I think the purchases I made at that time got me enough raid up summons to get Charlotte on the account. I think I saved enough to get Nika initially. I'm trying to think, but I mean ultimately I got a lot of summons from the $128. I'd say on average I probably got a minimum of 1 pull, probably closer to 2, because a lot of the packs I bought were pretty low price point, that had, you know, a pretty good conversion rate. So I'd get like 10 summons for $7 or something like that. Plus you get some freebies along the way when you do purchases and whatnot. So with that, I would say I'm pretty close to 50 cents a pull. So with $128, I'd probably be around 250-ish pulls that I wouldn't have got otherwise on the account. So I think that is important to keep in mind. With 250 pulls, just assume I'm getting a legendary every, you know, 50 to 30 to 50 probably. So, you know, that's all those extra chivalries definitely stack up, and even more importantly, stacked up on all my rare characters. I think that my rares being pretty much topped off, at least all of the main ones that I'm using, has been a pretty big perk of doing the purchase to expedite my account. So let's start with some of the things that over the last 90 days I've really enjoyed in the game. The first thing I would like to talk about is just overall the accessibility of the game and the champions in the game. I think the generosity of drops and getting you upgrade summons and special summons to get champions on your account is really good. I don't think after 90 days you should have every legendary in the game, but it has been really nice as far as a breath of fresh air compared to other games I've played. Probably too generous in that space. Now that being said, with the chivalries needing 11 copies of each champion, that is something to consider as far as bettering the champions over time, and that way, hey, you know, I have every legendary in the game except for Ceres, but I don't have any of the legendaries maxed out yet. So that's saying something, you know, like it's nice to have the toy on the account that I can play with, and then the toy gets better and better as I get more and more copies of it. So that is kind of a nice system they have in place that has been kind of refreshing. I think the gear drops in this game are a little bit rough. I'll be honest, as far as the only gear that I have on my account that's worth anything is from these gym packs that are going on right now. And I would highly recommend, if you haven't picked these up, to zip in here and see about picking up, because you can get 40 6-star legendary pieces for 1,500 gems, which honestly feels extremely generous to me. And I think that this is going to be a way of pulling a lot of no non-spenders, because you can accumulate rubies or crystals in this game pretty easily as a free-to-play player. Obviously you can get more if you're purchasing, but you're definitely going to be able to enhance your account in a major way and speed your progress up to start to compete in arena and some of those other things with some of these pieces. So I do think that this is an equalizer, but it also takes away all the need and all the farming that goes into getting a good piece of gear. The one thing I will say on this is it does have a weird feeling where maybe 7-star gear might be coming out, or awakened gear might be coming out. Something is going on here where they're trying to get a lot of amazing gear on accounts, which I think is going to kind of speak to that amazing gear not being amazing for very long. Would be my guess. The other thing would be it's a complete cash grab in the sense of trying to get people to spend their crystals on something in the game, and the frustration about, you know, dungeon drops and not being able to get good gear on your account has come through, so they're kind of giving people a chance to get some of that better gear on the account. I think increasing dungeon levels, making difficulty levels go up, and getting better drop rates would be a better alternative, or introducing new dungeons would be a better alternative. But it is something that's going to help a lot of players kind of reach that next level as far as what they're trying to achieve. Another thing I really enjoyed in this game for the first 90 days is kind of all the facets of gameplay. Like, you have the city builder going on in the background. It kind of became monotonous and it wasn't really that important as you kind of get into it. You know, the resources that you're getting and so forth, like, they seem to stack up pretty quick. The only thing I'm ever really waiting on is gold, which is it pulls you away from building champions and leveling gear and things that you really need to do. And I'm not sure the benefits of actually building your city up are really there. I think if you started getting better stats over time and things of that nature that would really add to your account, I think it would be there'd be more of an incentive to do it. But it is kind of a nice thing to kind of go on in the background. You also have the Coliseum or the arena, which is fun, and the clan stuff going on, and then story mode, campaign, and adventure. So almost kind of two different versions of campaign mode. I do really like that the adventure is no stamina required, so if you want to spend extra time in the game, there's always something for you to do in here, assuming you haven't finished it. For a lot of in-game accounts, they probably completely finished this all the way through, so there's not really a whole lot to do. But it is kind of a cool thing that when you're first starting out and you have that extra energy and the extra excitement about the game, you can spend a little more time in there going through there. As far as the dungeons, I think they have a lot of different dungeons laid out. The Sealed Temple, where you're getting the books and talismans to upgrade your champions, and the Favored dungeons are great content. The Forbidden Dungeon, I think, is probably my favorite content. Just is as engaging, and the rewards in it and so forth. It's just like every time the season resets, I look forward to just blazing through as many levels as I can. So I know that I'm still enjoying the Forbidden Dungeon here. Have not beaten it on hard, so still have to work on that. Clan raid I've been having fun with, but usually on the lower levels, come in here and you just destroy as many of the people as you can with the smallest team you can, which has been kind of a fun little challenge. But as you get further into it, it can be more competitive and kind of be a little more in-game, although there is some issues going on there. The equipment dungeons, we do have the 4 dungeons going on. Padarge's Sanctuary was launched probably about a month ago or so, and was some new content to the game, so it was pretty exciting to see new content. And then obviously you have the power-up dungeons as well, where maybe potentially if we're able to awaken gear soon, we might see a new power-up dungeon come in here that would give us some new content there as well. So all in all, I do think there's a lot of content in the game for celebrating. I think a few weeks back was its 100-day anniversary, so I think that there's a lot of great things going on in the game. I do think that there's some blatant oversights that need to be fixed probably sooner than later, specifically focusing on in-game players, because they're losing in-game players very rapidly, which is very concerning for any mobile game. So I think that transitions me smoothly right into some of the opportunities going on in King Arthur. Now, at this point in my game, being kind of late mid-game, I'm still having a lot of fun with the game. Like every time like the new banner comes out and it didn't have a new champion, it doesn't really affect me. I have plenty of things to work on that I'm trying to get and level up. There's plenty of gear I'm trying to, skills I'm trying to level up. There's plenty of the relics I'm trying to level up. Heroes I'm still working on, awakenings. So I have so much going on in the game right now that every 2 weeks, if a new champion's not entering the game, it's not a big deal for me. That being said, if I imagine my account 100 days down the road and basically twice as good as it is now, I can't really say I would feel the same way. I feel like there's nothing coming in the game that is in-game content that would keep me playing long term. And I think that if that's the goal for Netmarble, I guess that's okay. But when I look at this game, I look at a game that's trying to achieve the longevity or be like a Raid Shadow Legends or something like that, where it's going to have a loyal player base for a long time. And I think the moves they're making right now are definitely not catering to that philosophy. They're not even close. And I think it's kind of sad because when I look at the game, I like the game a lot. I think the bones of the game are fantastic. I think the characters are well thought out. I think there's a lot going on here that is better than Raid in a lot of ways. But there are some key pieces that are missing that are really going to speak to how long this game is actually going to last. I think the first thing that comes to mind is being 90 days in the game and having every legendary character except for one is a problem. That is a major problem. I understand that you have a lot of chivalries you're working through, but this is not a recipe for success, especially for a spender. And I joke about the $128 I've spent. For these games to be successful, you need for players to be able to spend thousands of dollars on this game every single month and have more to do and want more to do. That's the only way they're going to have revenue to go ahead and advertise their product and keep players coming in and build content and build more characters. Like, they need revenue to come in and do that. If you spent $1,000 on this game, you'd be in game in a couple weeks. So I don't think that there's enough content here to support that kind of revenue, which is frustrating because the game itself, I think, would support a lot of people spending and having a lot of fun in the game. That just needs more. And there's a couple really quick fixes that would speak specifically to in-game players. For example, if we go over to the shard shop right here, in-game players are stacking these up like nobody's business. And once they have these stacked up, there is nothing for them to buy. Why am if I have a chivalry level 10 Clotus, why am I can't buy this. What would be the purpose of it? Right? I have chivalry level 10 everybody. What am I spending this currency on? Well, what if there was a champion in here that you could save towards? Maybe they were pretty expensive, and Netmarble could introduce this champion with nobody even being able to afford the champion at this time. Although there's probably in-game accounts that probably have 20,000 of these tokens lined up, ready to go, or more. But you introduce one champion that becomes a 3 to 6 month carrot. Where if you're a new player, you could be like, that champion is really good. I'm going to save every token I can until I can get to that champion. Similar to the way you do Sergius with the arena. You go and you save up, you get Sergius, then you go over into the clan and get his flame relic. And it might be vice versa, but you know what I mean. You don't spend any tokens until you get those two things, and now you've got Sergius on your team and a great turn meter manipulator. Something like that, where you introduce a single champion into the pool. But it's not as a champion you can summon. It's a champion you can only get through here, and it all of a sudden makes this currency relevant again. And it probably be more expensive than 5,200. Maybe it's 10,000, maybe it's 20,000, whatever it is. It's going to be focused a little more towards in-game players, but it's going to give them a carrot to go for that's going to take time to achieve. And then you could replace that, not replace, but you could add to that champion. Maybe, there's 3 or 4 over the course of a year that you can get in here that keep those in-game players moving. Like once you purchase or chivalry out the first one, maybe the second one enters the pool. I don't know. There's some ideas there where you're not introducing a lot of new content with one character, but it's something that the in-game players have to work towards. The same thing could be said for the relics. I mean, at a certain point, you're going to have every relic for every champion. I already have a substantial amount of the ones in the game. And so you're stacking up these tokens here. Again, with these relics here, you could add maybe a void relic for each champion. Or you could add some other thing. But the issue is that this currency is stacking up in a major way for in-game players, and there's nothing for them to do with it. There needs to be some sort of carrot that, if I get to 100,000, I can buy this thing or convert it to this other currency or something. Like stacking these up, like there's no point in pulling relics anymore, because at a certain point you just have everything. Speaking to in-game content, coming back to the latest banner that popped up, you have 2 characters that most in-game people probably already have chivalry level 8 or higher. And I know this just from going through Arena and seeing how many chivalry level 10 Nika and Saraces there are in Arena. So there's people that have this dialed in and have no reason to summon. So all they're going to be doing is accruing extra things for the next 14 days. And you've committed, the cycle you put out is 14 days, where now as an in-game player in that space, I could basically not even come into the game for 14 days. Like, what am I doing in here? There's nothing for me to do. You haven't added anything in here that speaks to me. Now, that being said, there's one thing that I will say I think is an attempt to speak to in-game players, and that's this Master Memory Stone Consumption Support event. That's a mouthful. But basically, it's a Memory Stone Consumption event where you need to use these. Now, I do feel from a mid-game and an early game player, like this is kind of a weird event. But if you look at it specifically through the lens of an in-game player, this could be something that makes sense. I spoke about if you think about rewards that are going to speak to an in-game player, rate up summons for new champions are going to speak to an in-game player. Selector legendary pieces are going to speak to an in-game player, and relic selectors are going to speak to an in-game player. If you think about the best rewards you could possibly receive in the game, I gotta feel like this is really it. I mean, you could have a legendary selector for a character, but it's probably more in-game to get a relic selector than it is a legendary selector. So I feel like this is probably a good move to try to speak to in-game players, but the initial reaction I saw from a lot of in-game players was not positive. It was not received the way they wanted it to be received. So the issue is, how do you fix it? How do you put rewards in here that speak to an in-game player that will make them want to go through this? I would say that this event in and of itself is pretty boring. Trying to accrue this many memory stones, short of like going back through and getting 3 stars on all of your campaign mode and adventure mode, and leveling out all those, I don't know of anywhere you can really farm these. Like, you're basically telling them to go buy these, especially for an in-game player who's probably already got all of those memory stones from those locations. Their only option is to buy them. So you're like, okay, well, go spend money. And then once you spend the money, then you're going to take these memory stones, you're going to add chivalry to characters, which is great. If you have characters that need chivalry, which is a whole different issue for an in-game player who may not even have enough characters that need this much chivalry. I mean, that would be a real problem, because you got to upgrade 6 chivalries to get here. Well, I've seen accounts where I question whether or not there's 6 chivalries to upgrade. So now you're just sitting on memory stones, and everybody's chivalry level 10. What are you supposed to do? I don't know how that works. I don't know if that was thought through. I don't honestly know how many people are in that boat, but I would imagine a lot of whales that people spend money on this game, and there's not very many left, if any, probably are in that boat because there's not that many champions in the game. So they probably have had chivalry level 10 everybody's, and they're just chivalry level 10ing Brennan as soon as he comes out. So I mean, those are the kind of the people that you're trying to speak to, and I don't think this is the way to do it. I think that if you made something more similar to this Nika event, where you had maybe a dungeon you had to clear with all rare characters, and inside that dungeon you would receive rewards like this. I think that could speak to an in-game player, where it's like, hey, I got to go build a team of players that I normally don't use to clear a dungeon that's really hard, and then I can win some cool gear. I can win some stuff that'd be great for the account. I think that would give them something to do in game, because that's the other thing, is once you do that, like, it takes you 5 seconds to boost a chivalry. You're not playing the game, you're just clicking a button. At least if you give them a dungeon, something to work through, now they're at least trying. You know, that forbidden dungeon element where you're like, oh, this team didn't work, let's try that team, you know, and kind of move through, but make it extremely challenging. The other thing that I would recommend, if this is their strategy, because I adopt the mindset, if there is an event going on in the game, everybody should be able to complete that event. Every single person, if they can grind it out or if they've been playing long enough, should be able to complete that event. I don't buy into the idea that, oh, well, you know, you're not in game enough, you can't do this event. I don't like that. It's just not something that speaks to me. But if you are going to go that route, I think separating these out, let them know, like, hey, this is designed for end-game users. That way the end-game users could look at it and be like, that doesn't speak to me at all, and at least provide the feedback. Or they say, oh, dang, okay, yeah, this is a great event. And meanwhile, as a new player, you'd look at it and be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get that done. Man. You know, but after I played for 90 days, 100 days, 6 months, whatever it is, I should be able to achieve that same goal without spending money. Maybe it takes me longer, maybe I have to allocate my resources a little more efficiently, whatever the case is, but every event that comes into the game, I should have the opportunity after playing the game for, you know, 3 to 6 months to be able to complete. The other thing that in this space I feel like is setting kind of a dangerous precedence, and I think the Brendan event did as well, is there was a meme going around with wait shadow legends, where you basically just accrue all of the stuff on your account that you could hold on to, and then you'd wait for an event that rewarded you for utilizing the thing. With the free copy of Brendan, where you had to max him out in order to get that free copy plus pull 2 additional copies with the rewards that were in there, and the rewards were pretty juicy. Plus you got that free copy of him if you got all the way done. But you're sitting and you're thinking about like what it takes to max out a champion, and I'm already starting in my head. I'm like, okay, well, Serpent Dungeon opened up. I'm stacking up. I want 100 of each of these before I upgrade any of my champions, just in case whatever comes in here, I'm ready to go. I can max them out to get whatever rewards are in there, right? So now I'm going to have 100 of these on my account just sitting there while I'm trying to build my Iwrit, but I'm not using them yet because I don't want to run out. Same thing as you come down here to the talismans. I want to get 100 of these. Probably 100 is not even enough. I think to max out a champion, it probably takes, it might be right about 100. So maybe that is about right. But you can only get 6 of these a day. So, or 6. You can only farm these 6 times a day, and you get a handful of what each time you farm. But you get my drift. Pedestals, you want to make sure you stack up your pedestals. You want to come down here with your brooches and your pendants and get those dialed in. You want to get these guys here dialed in, ready to go. You want to get your books dialed in. And so you end up with all of these resources on your account that you're not improving your players because you're waiting for an event that comes around where you get rewarded for using it. And then it's like that event comes around, you forget what you were trying to use, and you're waiting. Like it becomes a really weird game where you're just waiting with a bunch of resources for a time to be rewarded to play the game. So I do think with some of these events and the way they've been rolling them out, it kind of starts to build that vibe in your head where it's like, hey, I'm not going to use any materials extra of anything. Like at this point right now, after seeing this event come through, I'm going to try for it. I don't think I have hope, but I'd really like to get this on my account. And there's 50 of these sitting for me in adventure mode, and I think there's probably another 10 to 15 sitting in my story mode. So I think that there's a potential of me getting pretty close to here, and then you can purchase like 5 of these in different shops here and there, and so there's opportunities to pick up a few here and there, although a lot of the resets already happened and they're not going to have the chance to do another 14 days, so I don't know if I can get there or not. But I can tell you right now, I'm not going to go in here and spend these on anybody until I have 120 of them and another one of those events come around. And that's kind of a weird place to be. I've got a lot of people I'd really like to put chivalries on, but at the same point in time, it doesn't make sense for me to spend these chivalries when I can get a relic selector if I just wait. Which is kind of frustrating. But it's also important to know that these things are potential. You know, like I had not seen any event where this was even a thing. And I think that's kind of frustrating too. So I'm pretty sure I spent 40 of these in the last 2 weeks upgrading my Nika to chivalry levels. So, you know, if I'd have known that this was a thing, that could be a benefit to me to hold on to those. But now you find out. And I feel burned, and that's probably why I'm a little chapped, a little salty. But at the same point in time, from a player standpoint, like, my feelings are real, and I'm not the only one in this boat. So you kind of burned some players, and now you know, they're going to adapt, and they're going to play the game differently so they don't get burned next time. I think one thing you could do to actually fix this problem would be, instead of specifically talking about memory stone usage, this could be a hero upgrade event where you can increase chivalries, you can increase levels, you can increase awakening skills, you get different points for all of those things, and that would get you into this space. The struggle with even that is the end game stuff. You may not have heroes to upgrade. Like, whether they're common, uncommon, whether, you know, you might not have any more heroes. You might have everybody 6-star, chivalry level 10, yada, yada, yada. In which case, I don't know what you're going to do. And so I think that those players, as few as they are, need to be thought about. Those players need to be considered, and there needs to be an event in here or two that speaks specifically to them. I will say, like, finding that balance, that's going to be an event that a fairly new player could at least try and try to grind it out, as well as being challenging for an in-game player. It's a razor thin wire if you can find that balance at all. And I think that that's where, if you separated these out, where it's like, hey, you know, maybe you have to be on, maybe you got to be on level 80 or level 100. Maybe you say, hey, everybody who's on level, I think 100 is probably excessive, but at level 75 and higher, you get this. This is an added 2 events that are going on for those particular players. And that way you don't see it as a new player and go, man, I wish I could do that, because it's not built for you. It's not meant for you. You find out about it later after you open up that level in level 75. And I think stuff like that could really speak to the in-game crowd and keep people here a lot longer. The other thing after 90 days I can't not mention is this is a hero collector game, and there are less than 100 heroes in the game. That's a problem. It's a huge problem. I don't know what it takes to bring heroes into the game. I think the fact that no rare heroes have entered the game since launch, no uncommon or common heroes have entered the game since launch, is a huge problem. We need to be fleshing these out. We should be working right now. There's 7 factions. We should be working towards 14 factions, where 2 factions are open each day. And we should be putting, you know, like we should have at least 2 common, uncommon heroes in every faction of the 14. So that would be 28 of each of those characters in each of those factions. You come up to the rare champion. The other thing in this game is there's no epic champions. You go from rare to legendary. Now, I had a theory that I thought legendary were going to be kind of the epics, and they were going to start introducing mythical champions, and that's just because of the way they do, like the upgrade summon, or the upgrades for orbs and seeds. They go from legendary to mythical. So I just thought, you know, that might just be the direction they head, where legendary kind of falls into that epic category. And seeing how they're only launching legendary characters, it would kind of be a way of fleshing out the mid game, just because they've already done it and now they're moving into more of the higher level. But this is a recipe for disaster. At the end of the day, there are not very many games, I can't think of any games that are successful that don't increase their champion pool in the lower ranks. Every game that has adopted this strategy of only bringing in legendary characters has failed. And it does not have longevity. And there's reasons for that. There's reasons for that. Like, coming back and replaying the game again, there's not appeal there, because there's not new rares in the game that would change the way you come up. There's not new epics in the game that you might get a little earlier that help you along your path. You have 21 legendary characters. So once you get that character, you're like, okay, good to go. Got the character. That's a problem. I think overall, they need to come out with a patch as soon as possible that doubles the amount of heroes in this game. I know that sounds ridiculous, but where we are in the game right now, if you're looking to sustain any like late to in-game players, there need to be carrots to achieve. There needs to be something to work on for those players, and those are the players that you don't want leaving your game. The players that have played all the way through to in-game and enjoy your game and love your game, which is why they're in-game players, you don't want them to get bored with your game and leave. Those players are going to be the players that spend money. Those players are going to want to have the bragging rights of the best accounts. There's just so many pieces to that puzzle that you do not want those players going and finding other things to spend their money on. And unfortunately right now, there's nothing in this game for a whale to spend money on. The other thing too is when you bring in more and more champions to the game, you need to do it in different ways. These rate up summon banners are a very inefficient way to bring champions into the game, because every player that's been playing long enough, and I haven't been playing that long, a new champion comes in, I'm going to get them. I'm going to get them for sure because of how generous all this stuff is. After 60 of these rate ups, I'm getting the new champion. When those champions come in, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying that champion comes in alongside 2, 3, 4 other legendaries, and maybe there's different ways of earning those legendaries in other aspects of the game. Go back to we talked about the in-game events. Maybe you have to go through more of like raid where you're doing a fusion or a fragment summons, something along those lines where you're building points, completing events, and over the course of 2 weeks, as the events launch, you're able to earn one of those champions. And then the other two just go into the summoning pool. They're just here. That's all they are. And that's the only way you can ever get them, is right here. And every now and then, maybe 3, 4, 5 cycles down the road, you throw them in as rate up summons because they haven't been a rate up summons for that time. But that's the way you're going to grow this game and keep people in the game, because they're going to be in here trying to get all the characters. This is a hero collector game. We want to collect the heroes, but we need heroes to collect. And then lastly, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, is now that you've got these heroes in the game, you have to have something to do with these heroes. You know, you looked at the restricted area. One thing comes to mind here, clan raid. This maxes out at some point, and then you can't fight it anymore for some of those in-game clans. That makes no sense to me at all. Like maybe it maxes out at level 30. That's fine. You know, level 50, whatever it is. It maxes out. But every time you beat it, it just reboots it. How many times can you beat it at level 50? And every day, everybody in your clan's going in there to maximize that out. You're not even putting new content in the game. You're just repeating the content once you get to a certain level. But it doesn't level out, because at the end of the 30 days or whatever, you don't want to have to, you know, do any weird, like, stall movements in order to maximize your clan points and stuff like this. And I think that'd be a simple fix that would bring a lot of satisfaction to some in-game players. Forbidden Dungeon, you can go into hard mode, you could go into hell mode on Forbidden Dungeon, making these new champions that are doing more and more work. Now you have more harder and more difficult content to bring in there. And it's not even really that hard. It's just a matter of coming up with different levels, different combinations of enemies, and different and increasing their stats, making them harder. Like, that's all it's going to take, which I don't think is going to be a huge feat to complete. If you come back out here over into story mode, you can add a complete new book from chapters 1 to 10 that are going to be significantly more difficult. Maybe after hell mode, there's something that is, you know, insane mode or some other version of the campaign. You can go in and get better drop rates, and it's even harder to complete. But there's things you could do in the game that would not require an entire new dungeon, an entire new boss, an entire new anything. It'd just be a matter of making certain content more difficult and putting a new spin on it. Which I think would be a really easy way to make the game deeper. From there, obviously, we would always love to see new dungeons and new bosses and things enter the game that are actual new content. But in the interim, while you're buying time, this would be a great way to get some very in-game content going and at least give those players something to do with their new shiny characters. But at the end of the day, I really do love this game. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I am nervous about achieving endgame because I feel like I'm getting there rapidly. And once I'm there, I'm going to be one of the people I'm talking about where it's like, I have nothing to do in the game. But currently, I have plenty to do. And I love the fact that I have plenty to do. But I'm getting closer and closer to the finish line. And the finish line isn't moving away fast enough. And I think that that's a problem. The other issue that I have is it's going to take a sizable investment to really push King Arthur to the next level. And with dwindling revenue and dwindling player base, my guess is Netmarble's probably not going to invest in this game the way they need to actually make it successful. So ultimately, I think they're going to kind of put the bare minimum into it to kind of keep it limping along. We're going to get a new character every 4 or 6 weeks. That just kind of keeps some of the players engaged. It keeps moving the finish line further and further away for new players. Probably not going to be a whole lot of advertising. And over the course of, 6 months to a year, the game will either die or maybe it has a cult following, and then maybe they can advertise because the game has gotten a lot more depth over that time frame of just kind of limping along. So, I mean, there is the potential for that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they decide that the bones of this game are fantastic, the player base is enjoying the game, and they want to actually invest in this game, and like I said, just double down on the champions in the game all at one time just to bring a breath of fresh air into the game. I'd be willing to wait 6 weeks for that. I'd be willing to, like, if they communicated those ideas, like even in the roadmap they put out, there's no time frames, there's no nothing. And the content that they let us vote on was pretty vague. It's kind of hard to say how amazing it could be, or maybe not. Like, it could kind of fall flat. So if you're sitting here waiting for 6 weeks for one of these pieces of content to come out, and then it's just basically a regurgitated version of something else in the game, it's not going to be super compelling. So those are the kind of things that I think they need to be very cautious of. But I think for Netmarble to really take the next steps, they need to ask themselves one question every 2 weeks, every time they change the raid up summons, and every time they introduce, I think they actually introduce new events every week. 7 days they cycle through some of these. And the question they need to ask is, what is an endgame player doing right now? For this week, what is an endgame player doing right now? And is it fun? And is it engaging? Are the rewards, like everything about it has to engage an endgame player. The rewards have to speak to an endgame player. The content has to speak to an endgame player. The challenge has to be challenging for an endgame player. Like, what is an endgame player doing right now? If they just started asking themselves that question every time they launched a new event, I think the retention of player base would go up dramatically. And you'd probably see a couple players come back because they'd have something to do in the game. I think just asking that question would be a huge win. The other thing is, it's a hero collection game. We need more heroes. When we're waiting 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks we get one hero, and now not even that. Now we're waiting 6 weeks for a hero, and now we didn't get one this time. Like, this is way too slow, way too slow. Having played this game for 90 days, I saw the finish line when I started, and it was way up there. And I've been playing, and I'm gaining on that finish line way faster than it's moving away. And that's one thing in Raid Shadow Legends and why it's a 6-year game. That finish line moves away from you fast. So if you stop playing the game, if you're not grinding it out, that finish line moves away from you faster than you can gain on it. And I would argue even if you are grinding it out, that finish line is moving away faster than you can gain on it. Which is a problem in and of itself. But the ideal space that I think a game should be is you can gain on the finish line if you play every day. If you play every day and you grind it out, you can gain on that finish line incrementally. But right now I'm feeling like I'm making leaps and bounds towards that finish line every single time I pull a legendary, because the amount of legendaries I need to pull just came down by 1. And in a 6-week period of time, I can't tell you how many legendaries I pulled during that 6 weeks, so I can go back. They're all on video, except for one that I didn't, but I talked about which ones I pulled. I just happened to not hit record when I pulled them. But in a 6-week period, I probably pulled 20 legendaries. So if you factor in that 6-week period, they added 1 to the game, and then Chivalry, I need 11 copies. I gained on it massively. That's not a recipe for long-term success. And I think Netmarble knows it, and I don't know that they have the ambition to change it, which is kind of frustrating. But I think that's about what I got for you today on the 90-day review. I am still currently having a lot of fun in the game. I am nervous about hitting endgame. I do see a lot of the issues that are coming through and a lot of the negativity that's going around as far as the content creators out there talking about the lack of content, lack of new things in the game, and the lack of things for in-game players to do. So when I get there, I hope that they've resolved that issue, or maybe it'll be time to move on to something different. But based on where I'm at now, I think I have at least another 30 days in the game of having like true fun with the content and trying to push through some of those areas that I still have to work on. But I appreciate you hanging out with me all the way to the end. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Am I too critical? Do I have too high expectations? Should I kind of tone it back a little bit and just expect this to be a 6-month game and that's it and move on? I'd just be curious what your mindset is in that space. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do so. It means the world to me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.